Hi, welcome to the first video of a series intended to help teachers and students with the creation of classroom content. By the end of the series, we'd be able to design presentations, posters, as well as generate videos for the classroom. When you first launch PowerPoint, you will see this screen. Down here are themes and templates you can search for. For example, if you search for the template classroom and hit enter, you'll be presented with templates that you might find interesting. For this feature to work, you will require the internet. These are a set of available templates preloaded onto your system. If you click on any of these and click create, you will then be taken to a pre-formatted presentation. However, if you want to start from scratch, like how I am going to do right now, click on blank presentation and you will be taken to this screen. If you click the undo button after clicking, say, any design ideas and you don't want the idea, click on the undo button. If you want the idea again, this is the redo button. Undo and redo. Let's return back to how it was at the beginning. Now what you see here, these lines are basically guidelines and they may not appear with your version by default. So to enable them, go to view, click guides. If you want grid lines, click on grid lines. The ruler, which you see here, will help you take more nuanced decisions when it comes to design. However, for the basics, we can do without them, but I'm going to keep the guides on. This menu you see up here consists of different tabs. You have the File tab, the Home tab, the Insert tab, and so on. When you clicking on these tabs will then change the content in this section, in this wide section here, and this section is called ribbon. So for instance, this ribbon belongs to Home, while this ribbon is now populated with new options for Insert, and so on for design, transitions, animations, and so on. Now returning back to the Home ribbon. The Home ribbon is where PowerPoint presents you with the most used operations, and the most used operations here we can see are categorized into groups. So this group is called the clipboard group, this group is called the slides group, and this the font. As you can see, certain groups are completely grayed out. What this means is that it is not applicable to the action you're currently performing, and since we haven't really interacted with our slide, these are grayed out. The font, as we can see, the font group is obviously going to have something to do with text. So if you click on text, you can see that the font group is now active. And if you then proceed to type something in like title, and then say you select it, the cut and copy functions are then active. If you click out, they get grayed, which means they are inactive, and clicking on them will not result in anything. Now say we're going to keep some subtitle. Say we're choosing some text here. Now say this button here changes the color of the text. It's called the font color. Now we can choose from a list of colors available here, or much more standard colors, or if you want a different color altogether, you can choose, say, this one, or this one pulls up an even more bigger gamut of colors. Click on cancel and let's give it some standard color, for instance olive. Now after giving it this color, let's give the subtitle word alone a different color. For instance, let's choose this one. Now if you want to, you don't remember which color you've chosen, but you still want to identify the color, you can pull up Eyedropper and then say choose a different color, and then you can see it automatically picks up the color you've then clicked on. This Eyedropper facility, this tool will be available at multiple menus when you want to change color. This one changes the casing of the sentence. For example, let's highlight this, some subtitle, and when you come here, it goes to sentence case with the first letter alone capitalized. This one changes all the letters to lowercase. This one, all the letters to uppercase. This one capitalizes each word and this one is toggle case, where it's the reverse of sentence case. Now, back to the basics again. With this text highlighted, let's click on the bold option, and you can see that the text is bolded. After that, if you click on italics, the text is then italicized. Click on underline to underline. If you want a shadow, let's give a shadow to the title. A shadow is then induced. If you want, say, a strike through, click on this one for a strike through. This one changes the spacing between the letters. This one increases the font, and this one decreases the font, as you can see. Decreases the font, and you may wonder why it jumps from 48 to 54. It's because in the pre-built, pre-inputted options, you are 48 and 54, and then you have 60. So one thing you may notice here is as you hover on these options, PowerPoint automatically changes or allows for a sample, as you can see right here. Next, if you want to highlight a particular piece of text, like for example, let's just go and type in some gibberish, for example, and let's say you want to, first of all, let's take off all these formats. So you can select the text, take off all the formats that are applied. Notice that when you select a particular text, for example, this one, it automatically shows the different options that have been applied, the different formatting that has been applied to that particular piece of text. Now that you've taken off the formatting, let's also return back to black, and now change the font to, say, 16. Now that, say, we've applied a different format and you want to remove all format, just highlight this one and remove all format. We can then go into bullet points. You want to highlight it, you can apply either bullets or you can apply a number. So let's go in bullets. The first thing is, if you notice here, certain options such as the bullets and the paste first come with an icon followed by this drop down button. So the icon basically applies the most common option, but say you want to pull up a different format of bullets, you can choose amongst different ones. Go into this one to select more options. Now, if you after choosing this one, say you want to switch to numbered, simply go here and click on number. And if you want, say, Roman numerals, you can shift between any of these options. To increase the list level, you can keep going in and out like this. If you want to decrease the level, go out like this. This one is line spacing, and it basically dictates how much line spacing is going to be between each of these lines. As you can see, the more line spacing, it pushes it out that much more. You may have noticed now that the text has shrunk. It's because the line spacing kind of threw it out of the boundary. To increase it back, just drag the corner. The different forms of alignment as of now, these are all center aligned, but you could have them aligned to the left, to the right, or justified. Now, say for instance, you want this particular part to be centered. Now say you want this to be left, this one to be centered, and the highlighted part to appear on the right. Simply go here and click right. So this is one way of doing it. If this seems too tedious and not much to your liking, what you can do is highlight whatever you want to modify, cut it out, and you can then go into insert, text box, click to create a text box, and then you have a different text box that you can then drag around and place anywhere you'd like. Moving on to the insert tab, here you have a different set of options in the ribbon. This small drop down here, which is basically new slide, pulls up other available options. So let's insert a new slide. here you have different types of slides, and most of the time I'm just going to start with a blank slide, and that is what you see here, a completely blank slide. Now let's insert a table into this slide. As you hover around the different options, or a preview of the table is created, you can choose the number of columns and the rows. You could also click on draw table, or you could export a spreadsheet from Excel. Now let's just create a 2 by 2 table. Now the first thing you see is this is a header row, so everything's going to appear in bold. So if you do not want a header row, simply go here and uncheck the header row option. As you can see, the design option isn't available anymore, and to bring it back, click on design. If you want more options, you can scroll up, down, or if you want a bigger list, just select that drop down, that icon to pull up a drop down. Now I'm going to go with, say, the basic table. Okay, and let's type in some random information. And say you want to create a new row, just click tab, and you're presented with a new row. Keep clicking tab how many times you want, and it creates new rows for you. You can come back here and remove borders. You can choose no borders, and you see all borders disappear. If you want the borders again, simply choose all borders, or if you want the outside borders only, you can choose it. Inserting pictures. The first thing you can insert is from your computer. You could do that simply by copying it from a folder, or if you want to insert it from an online directory, click online pictures, and it should pull up Bing image search. Let's say you want to search for Earth. Click enter, and it's going to pull up images of Earth. Once you've chosen the appropriate image, it is inserted into your thing. As you can see, the image fits quite snugly, but you don't want such a big image. So, notice now that if I drag these particular options, it squishes the image, or the image is now kind of malformed. Click on undo to go back to the original image. And now if I want to scale the image down while maintaining the aspect ratio, and what I mean by aspect ratio is maintaining the square form or whatever the original form of it is, you got to ensure that you drag it down like this from the corner. You can see. You can modify the picture a bit. Say you don't want this black background. After clicking on your picture, ensure it's selected. Click on remove background, and you're presented with these options: mark areas to keep, mark areas to remove. Now let's say I want to mark areas to remove. I don't want this area, and let's click. So I click on it, and I click on this one. I don't want this one. I don't want this one. And let's say keep changes. As you can see, it does an okay-ish job. To refine it, go back to remove background, mark areas to keep this time because it's removed certain areas. Zoom into it by pressing down Control and moving up your mouse button to zoom in, or zoom out by holding down Control and moving the mouse button down. Or you could just go down to the bottom right of the screen and use this slider to zoom in or zoom out. As you can see, now that we've zoomed in, I would like to keep this area, so I'm going to click on this one, and there you go, it's selected that area. I want to keep this area, it's selected. You might have to do this multiple times, but after a few clicks, it should be able to do a fairly good job for you. As you can see here, it is doing a pretty good job. Keep changes. Now, if you would like to perform other modifications on your picture, you could choose artistic effects to reset the picture to the original. Make sure it's selected and reset picture, and you're back to the original. Okay, and now our Control Z is a shortcut for undo. You could do other modifications here, like for instance, you give borders and the like. Now let's go back to the Insert tab. Insert a new text box here and type in "Hi, what's up?" Now let's say you want a background for this. Just right click and you'll see Format Shape. Click on Format Shape, and now you're given these two options. Fill is going to tell you different kind of fill. Right now it's a no fill, but as soon as you click solid fill, you can see that a color has been added. Now let's say you want to add this color. You can do that by choosing it here. Gradient fill allows for multiple colors and multiple stops. You can see as I change the slider, the value changes. And let's say I can change the value of this color to say red, And you can see it completely changes everything. Now back to say solid fill. Now let's say I want a color from this one. Now this earth here has a lot of colors. How do I go about it? Like I said earlier, there is this option called Eyedropper that is usually available for picking colors. Now let's go and say I want this orangish color here. Click on it and there you see it does the job for you. Now let's say I want this to come on the earth part. Now it's going to blot out the earth there. If you want the text box to have transparency, drag this slider to increase transparency, and as you can see, it does a good job. But as soon as you increase the transparency, you can see the text is affected and it kind of becomes illegible here. In a future video, I will talk about colors. To save it, just click Ctrl and S, and the first time you're offered this, click on More Save Options, Browse, choose a title, and let's call this Demo. And the default is saved as a PowerPoint presentation. Click on Save and it is saved. This concludes this video. For more videos, stay tuned to this channel, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon if you want to be notified.